And we are live with the Lessons Learned podcast. Japamon and myself. We'll be talking about this week news. We were actually talking off of camera a second ago about a couple of things, which we're going to start the program, and then we're going to go to our main idea, which is our main focus of the podcast, which is we're going to be talking about CRPGs, or what we like to see in our ideal role-playing games on the computer. So without further ado, let's start with some of the news, shall we? Talking about games and possibly MMOs. According to PC Gamer, a free-to-play Lord of the Rings MMO is being developed by Amazon. I don't know why. Well, I know why, money, but it's like, have we been here before?
Yeah, wasn't there a Lord of the Rings MMO? I mean,
Yeah,
granted,
there still is.
Granted, probably one nowadays can be probably made better than what was before, but not. I don't know. I feel like the Lord of the Rings, it'll be popular. But I think that like train has kind of passed.
Pretty much, or it's now transformed itself into the whole, games as service.
Yeah, or well, it might be retro enough now because the Lord of the Ring movies came out probably over 10 years ago now.
Yeah, probably even more than that in the early 2000s. So yeah.
Of course, not counting the new the Hobbit movies, which I didn't find all that great.
Yeah. Also, this is from 8 years ago, so we should have talked about this last week. But it's still basic gaming. It's a rampant racism and toxicity are driving players away from Mordhau. Updated. Basically, this is more of a thinks piece, basically, where they're saying, talking about the toggle and all that, but that's still a thing apparently.
Yeah, and I was hearing more that they were denying that they said that, even though there's a transcript. It's like, yes, you guys said this, like that this is a thing.
Yeah, sounds like G2A. Oh, we didn't say that thing, but those emails, the person that sent them, they were not authorized. But that was the thing with G2A, by the way. Let's look at G2A because there's a follow up to the news of G2A.
Oh yeah,
G2A.
that particular story where they were trying to get I think they were trying to solicit
favorable coverage,
video game outlets, news outlets to publish a story that they wrote that's pro G2A without being disclosed that it's sponsored content.
And I gotta say this, well, that's one thing, and also it's like, if you have to pay the video game industry, media industry, to give positive coverage to your thing, I mean, the real problem was getting exposure, I guess. But G2A is so big that it doesn't require people to give it exposure. It's just that G2A is, I guess, such a bad actor that people are like, no, we're not gonna give you anything. We don't. Nope. That you have to actually try to pay. According to this is from Polygon, G2A employee tried to pay the press for favorable coverage. And G2A responded, official, this is absolutely unacceptable. G2A says of solicitation. I saw some tweets that are like, oh, but this is, no, we wouldn't do that. Oh my God, no.
They totally would.
And this is from head of communication, Masik Cook. Confirmed the exchange to Polygon via telephone this afternoon. He said, attempt to solicit positive paid coverage without disclosure is against company policy, and the employee will be reprimanded. Not fired. Reprimanded. I guess reprimanded could be fired, I guess.
Reprimanded for, like, you got caught. Well, you got caught, or at least you got outed. Don't do that again.
Yeah, he does say Cook. I say Cook. I don't want to. Declined to notify the employee, referring to disclosure and employment law within the European Union. So perhaps they have to be given a chance to defend themselves before they get, summarily fired. I guess there's no, automatic firing under European Union law. I don't think so. I think it's mostly. This doesn't sound like France, so. Uh, Meanwhile, on Monday morning, parts of the usual email began to circulate on Twitter, titled Cooperation with G2A.com. It episode of a pre-written story that casts the G2A marketplace in a favorable light. It also asks for discretion. And this is quoting the Twitter thing. We have written an unbiased article about how selling stolen keys on gaming marketplace is pretty much impossible. And we want to publish it on your website without being marked as sponsored or marked as associated with G2A. Let me repeat that. We've written an unbiased article. We have written an article for you to publish that is unbiased, but we don't want to be marked as sponsored or marked associated with G2A. It is transparent. It is a transparent and just review of the problem of stolen keys. I mean, I can understand not being a native English speaker, but this levels of contradiction and yeah. Like that would be paper publish, and then G2A responded with the following: these emails were sent by our employee without authorization, which we apologize to some indie games at some indie games and the 9 other media outlets he sent this proposal to. He will face 3 consequences, and this is absolutely unacceptable. We're gonna flog him. We're gonna take him to him, and we're gonna flog him.
Yeah, we're gonna take him out back where you can't see and flog him.
And it's gonna be 7 lashes because we are told by our experts that 8 or more would kill him, and that's still legal, technically. So we're not gonna do that. But the man will bleed for his mistake. We're not saying exactly what his mistake was, just that he made a mistake. I'm exaggerating at that point, but it's just talking about other problems of the video game industry. PUBG has been banned in Jordan, with Fortnite expected to follow. This is again according to PC Gamer. Their byline is they're dangerous, apparently. Players Unknown Battle has been banned by Jordan's Telecommunication Regulatory Commission, with 6 other games, including Fortnite, expected to join it soon. Like other instances where the Battle Royale has been banned, vague concerns about negative impact have been tossed around. According to TRC, a study determined it was harmful to people at all ages. The Commission Director of Beneficiary Affairs said that it was established to deal with the complaints from citizens about terrifying spread of menacing video games. PUBG has been banned in Iraq and replaced by a patriotic version in China where nobody dies. Wow, it was replaced in China? Holy shit! Well, I guess they're still making money, but because it's still PUBG, but nobody dies.
It's like, oh hey, gun paintballs or something.
Because if it really got truly banned, it's that would be the end of PUBG. I mean, we're talking about China here, so and like, oh my goodness, gracious, grace balls of fire, yeah. I mean, yeah, that'll be the end of that. So, talk about other politicians making kind of dumb mistakes. According to PC Gamer, Pakistani politician mistakes a GTA 5 stunt video for real life. Congratulates pilot.
Really?
Yeah. Narrow escape of an aircraft which could have ended in great disaster. Miracle saved by the pilot president of mine. That's apparently what the politician said. Last week, Pakistani's Awami Tehreek Secretary General Kuram Naswas Kanaspur shared incredible footage of an airplane narrowly avoiding an old tanker that stopped on the runway. With less than a meter of clearance, the A380 Airbus managed to pull up and soar over the stopped vehicle, averting what could have otherwise been a terrible disaster. Except Gandampur didn't seem to realize the video was stunt pulled off in Grand Theft Auto 5. I guess we're in the era of hyper-realistic graphics nowadays. I mean, it's so believable that he couldn't tell the difference.
Or he's never seen any kind of media with any sort of like computer-generated imagery, maybe.
Perhaps. Judging the authenticity of the videos images found online has become increasingly more challenging, according to PC Gamer, especially with the use of rise of deepfakes. It might seem harmless, but this can be used to. So yeah, they got it from Motherboard. So I don't know. I mean, sometimes I see things that I don't know the difference, but and I'm a gamer, so I see video game graphics all the time. But still, I mean, you would think that would have been a much bigger piece of news, right? Across the
considering
world, right?
yeah, considering that GTA 5, I assume it's like what, a couple of years old now.
So 7 years old now. Yeah. But I mean, if that actually happened in real life, CNN,
Yeah,
BBC, everybody was like, "Wow, this is huge news, right?" I mean, I thank the Ganampur who actually went out his way to thank the pilot and congratulate him. Well, whether the pilot was virtual or real, I mean, it's also a real pilot just flying a virtual aircraft as opposed to a real aircraft. It does take some skills to pull it off, so kudos, I
yeah.
guess.
Well, and I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if like mainstream media would pick it up. I've seen like the mainstream media pick up hoax videos and present them as real. If you've ever watched any videos from Captain Disillusion.
Yeah. Another news. Sorry, but Final Fantasy VII Remake is still a PS4 exclusive for now. I just said the
Really?
Xbox Germany Facebook page posted a video of the claimed Final Fantasy VII Remake will be appearing on Xbox One on March the 3rd, 2020, not just PS4. There was no mention of PC, but a multi-platform announcer replied that the price wasn't far off. According to Square Enix, however, that is not the case, and the video was posted in error. I mean, Square Enix has been posting more and more games, um, sending them to both PC and Xbox.
Yeah.
But this is Final Fantasy VII, a game that is intimately linked to the original PlayStation, PSX. So I don't know if if Sony, because Sony has to have a hand in this, clearly. They're not gonna go like, oh yeah, sure, you can put one of the most iconic games that that was a system killer before system killers were a thing, in for everyone else to have. Sure, a competition. Why not?
I'm wondering if it's going to be like a year exclusive thing.
Probably. I think
Because
that's what we're looking at.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, lately Square Enix have been
Right.
putting pretty much everything in on every platform. Final Fantasy, their I guess HD update thing is pretty much on, I think, almost every console. I'm not sure if it's on the Xbox though. I know there's it's on for PC, PlayStation 4, and the Switch actually that got released not too long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do expect it to be a limited release kind of thing where they're gonna have it for 6 months, maybe a year or something, and then do it for other platforms. I mean, I think that's what happened with the original. The original came out for Sony PSX, or if you want to retroactively PlayStation One, and I think about a year later they had a PC port. But it hasn't happened for any of the remakes. They haven't made continued PC ports, so it was just for the original. And it was like 7 CD-ROM, so like kind of almost as big as the PlayStation version, original PlayStation version. How many? Well, this will be a multi-chapter thing, so I suppose it will be
Yeah.
multiple CDs or
Wow. I
Blu-rays.
wonder if it's going to take them like 10 years to
Oh God, no.
get the entire game out.
Could surprise me. But three generations later, it's like, oh, the final part of the 14th part of the Final Fantasy the remake is out now. Get it with the 2 re-releases of Final Fantasy VII updated graphics that we released in the intervening years, only for $90 or something like that.
The HD thing with the cheats is also on Xbox One as well.
Oh.
So they've released this HD thing, or at least like their slightly improved version of the original on every platform. It seems.
I have to check. It is also Steve. Sorry, it just said so hard that it's giving me.
Yeah, it's on Steam as well.
Yeah. So I was mistaken there. Thank you for the correction. Talking about other things that have been delayed, I suppose. Psychonauts 2 has been delayed until 2020. I think we talked about this a little bit last week.
Nope, we did not.
Oh, well, then simple. Double Fine has published a post E3 fig backer update to Psychonauts 2, clarifying some of last month's announcement at E3. You probably heard that the studio had been acquired by Microsoft, and it will be published by Behemoth instead of Starbreeze. Libraries. So one of the things is that they got a little more money, and so 2020 is gonna be the year that they're gonna have Psychonauts 2, which is, I suppose, a good thing.
Yeah. Oh wow. So Psychonauts was kickstarted, really? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, not it was through Fig, but it was crowdfunded.
Oh
So
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. I think everything that they've done recently has been crowdfunded
Yeah.
to one degree of success or another, I suppose.
I,
Last,
I'm I'm kind of surprised it took them that long to kind of cash in on the nostalgia of Psychonauts. I played that like about 2 or 3 years ago for the first time, and it was all right. I mean, I could definitely see myself digging it when it came out, but like I don't think it was super like awesome or anything. Like to get, I don't know. It's sort of like Beyond Good and Evil. It was good. It was pretty good for especially for something in that from that era, but not like oh my god. Other than it, well, I guess both of the games sequel baited, but
yeah. Remember last week we did talk about this last week. It was the fact that Microsoft version 1.0 had come out. We've been re-released. Well, it turns out that it was tied to Stranger Things season 3 coming out. So it's some
huh.
kind of weird intersection of the two. I don't know who would need a whoever
It's
needs. I don't think that anybody would need a version of Windows 1.0 unless you're a dedicated collector, I guess. But usually, if you have a machine, you're either running on DOS anyway, or you have an original disk, or you have a copy of it. So
yeah, that's kind of a weird cross promotion. It's like, hey, this completely obsolete version of Windows with Stranger Things.
just to get, I think it's just to get into the news cycle, right? To a degree.
Yeah. Hey, for Microsoft.
But related to that, Microsoft Internet Game Services are finally being ended. After 20 years, checkers, backgammon, hearts, and all the rest are being taken offline. Gaming has always been part of Windows experience. This goes back all the way to release of Windows Me in 2000. Uh, Included such titles as Spider Solitaire and Minesweeper. And yeah, all those things are going on. The games that are being canceled on January 22nd, 2020 will be Internet Backgammon, XP, Me, and Windows 7, Internet Checkers, Internet Spades, Internet Hearts, Internet Reversey, and MSN Go. Wow, MSN Go is still going? Is that not, that's not a game.
Wow.
Wow. Actually, it is a game. Yeah, I remember it was a game. Uh, we truly appreciate all the time passion you put into Microsoft Internet Games. This has been a great community, Windows Gaming Team Row. However, this time will come to us, along with our hardware and software partners, to invest in our resources towards more recent technology so we can continue to deliver great new experiences. On one hand, it's a thing that probably people are still playing, right? On the other, it shows that, again, anything that is purely on the internet, on somebody else's servers, although I'm sure somebody could probably get a copy of these because these are not very complicated games.
Yeah.
And Microsoft
Game
would have
registration.
some kind of problems and like, well, you can't have backgammon on your own personal server. It's like, well, it's not internet backgammon. It's just backgammon. Well, it looks like our game. Well, yeah, but so I guess kind of a dead game sort of situation. Weird.
Yeah. I guess those baby boomers are gonna have to find like something else to play on their default Windows video games under the games folder. But even then, I mean, that kind of sucks. It is just a reminder just how some of these old, I guess, games as service before that was even a term or a real concept.
Yeah.
Like how vulnerable they are, because there's older games that are still going. Like
Mm-hmm.
RuneScape is one of them. But yeah, it goes to show you it's like no game is really safe, I guess.
Yeah. Talk about other like games, would be games of service. Starcraft 2 AI that kick ass in January, joining the European competitive ladder. The Alpha Star AI will play a small number of matches as part of DeepMind's artificial intelligence research. This is Alpha Star. It's an AI designed by Google's DeepMind that's built specifically to play StarCraft 2, and it's very good at the job. Earlier this year, delivered an all-around ass-kicking to a couple of StarCraft 2 Pros, and now it's ready to kick your ass too. As far as I'm going to research artificial intelligence, our first star will soon will begin play a small number of games on the StarCraft 2 competitive ladder in Europe. Yeah, we play anonymously, so human players won't know when they're facing it, and wins and losses against Alpha Star will impact MMR the same way as against humans. That's a bit unfair. Like, oh, we built this AI specifically designed to beat humans at StarCraft. If you lose to this AI without knowing that you're playing against the AI, which, by the way, there's real money involved in this, well, too bad for you.
Well, might be sort of like an experiment to see if an AI can outwit I guess human ingenuity.
It says multiple experimental variants of Alpha Star will take part in tests, and it will be played 1v1 matches only, as and against all three factions in the game. It will perceive the map using a camera-like view and won't have access to anything happening outside the visible map area. It will also have tighter restrictions imposed on actions per minute and per second that it did in January matches. Still kind of feels a bit unfair, I guess. To me, at least to me, you know.
Yeah. I mean, in an actual competition, yeah. I guess that for like a legit competition, it does seem kind of fair. It'd be one thing if it was like a friendly competition, just say, see if you could beat this AI.
Yeah, with money in the line, that doesn't sound like a good idea. By the way, it was Strangest Things season 4, not season 3. The last season, the recent season.
Yeah, I've never seen Stranger Things at all.
Yeah. By the way, the one thing that I think would have been a bigger news, or I didn't perceive it as bigger news, but should have been bigger news, that the Nintendo unveils cheaper, smaller Switch Lite. This is according to Polygon News. Nintendo unveiled a new revision of its Switch hybrid game console on Wednesday. Nintendo Switch Lite, a smaller version of the system, focused on the platform portable side. Essentially, it's a Switch. It's a 3DS basically with Nintendo Switch kind of updated hardware. Nintendo Switch Lite hardware will cost $199 and will release on September 20th. Well, considering that you can get a Switch for about $200 around this same price, or $250 at most. Yeah. I've seen about this price. It's like, I don't know if I want to buy the portable version. I mean, if we're about $150, and I guess also didn't make as big a splash because it has a lot of things that have been cut out. It won't feature detachable Joy-Con controllers. So it's just, it feels more like a Game Boy DS. It's just on one piece. A smaller 5.5-inch screen, weighs less. In 3 gorgeous colors: yellow, gray, and turquoise. Longer. One thing has a longer lasting battery life. It has to because no docking station. But it can handle all the games that have that went before. That says nothing. Noting that some games will have some restrictions. They won't offer HDA rumble support or infrared camera, including Joy-Cons. It will support external Joy-Con controllers, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC, and other features. It's not really that cheap, again, considering
it has a lot of limitations.
It's about the same price. It's about the same price as a full-size Switch in most places. If you do a little bit of shopping, and I mean literally go from Walmart to Sam's Club, or to Sam's Club to somewhere else. Oh, here's on $199. So yeah, or Amazon, right, or something like that.
Oh, well, it also feels like first off, it being a new version is definitely something they kind of need to get out, since I guess the way the Switches are made, at least like at launch, there's no way to kind of keep it from being hacked because it's a physical thing that they can't just change.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of almost feel like that's what the Joy-Con thing is. Like, you can't just remove them because that's where the exploit is in the Joy-Con connectors.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing too is hopefully those Joy-Cons that are built into it are much better than like the ones that we got at launch, because those like kind of are not that great. They, like, ours started malfunctioning after a couple of months.
Yeah. Actually, no, they're not even built in. They just basically think of it as a DS, basically, with the Switch, with a much larger DS. Let me get a picture. The Switch Lite. Let me get a picture, an image. We can from GameSpot. Why not? Yeah, it looks like almost like a throwback to the to older platforms. Copy image graphics. Here you go.
Yeah, it almost looks like the tablet
To the Wii U.
the to the Wii U,
Yeah, that's what I. It's like, yeah, that's what I thought.
except it looks a lot thinner and sleeker.
Probably lighter too.
Yeah.
You know what this feels like? It feels more like this is little brother's Switch.
Yeah. And that's probably exactly what it is. It's like the 2DS. It's marketed towards kids. It's going to be like something, well, it doesn't have all these doohickeys and stuff that they can break.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, we got a Switch for your older brother, and he's playing Fortnite all the time. So we're not gonna buy another Switch. So here's a Switch Lite. Here, come on. So a couple of bucks, I think, less. Like, thank you. Unless the kid is pretty savvy, it was like, I actually wanted a Switch. So thanks, mom, dad, cheap bastards. Spend the second money.
It's like sort of when my parents bought me a instead of getting me a Game Boy, they got me a Supervision,
Hmm.
which was this weird knockoff wannabe Game Boy thing. It's just as bad. The screen's just as bad as a Game Boy, but the games were kind of like knockoff games and
Hmm.
stuff.
We
I
probably
still remember it.
tons of bugs too. By the way, I'm thinking buggy and the best graphic quality and
Yeah, most of them they're kind of like unbeatable. And
wow.
even then, that like for a kid, they're like, I mean, sure. Even then, I knew that it wasn't as good as the Game Boy, but I still played it and it was still entertaining.
Yeah, it was what you had, so you played it. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I get you. Another news: Shenmue 3 backers have to purchase season pass and deluxe edition separately. They will also not receive pre-order content, much to fans' chagrin. So what was the point? Well, I know what the point of doing this, of of crowdfunding was just to get the money, right, and get interest. In a comment on the last updates on the Kickstarter page, backer Antonio Miranda claims that he received an email from Shenmue 3 team confirming that those who help from the project will not be entitled to certain content. In particular, the season pass from future DLC and additional content, including the deluxe edition, will not automatically be sent to backers, but they can be purchased separately. In the case of the latter, players will likely have to purchase the deluxe edition. I wonder if that has anything to do with an Epic exclusive. So now they have more money to make Shenmue 3 because Epic also gave them money for the exclusivity. But people are going to get less. People actually paid from their own pocket to try to get the game going are going to get even less than they thought they were going to get.
Yeah, that's. I vaguely saw like a news story, and I haven't actually watched the video on someone reporting about them not getting their backers not getting like a certain tier or something or a rewards. But so there's going to be DLC. Game not finished yet. They're still putting finishing touches. They've pissed off pretty much, maybe not everyone, but a lot of their backers with this exclusivity thing. They've and on top of taking money from like big publishers, that I think Sony gave them money, and what was it, Deep Silver's that their publisher gave them money. So it's not entirely crowdfunded, and now you're gonna be like, oh, there's DLC too, but you got to pay for that separately, even though you kickstarted the game years and years ago.
It could also be the Silver. The Silver's been known to do stuff like this before. I mean, all the way back to, I think it was when they started publishing Saints Row 3 or 4. Saints Row 3 was known to having a ton of DLC, just a ridiculous amount of DLC. Most of it just skins and stuff like that, and weapons, and it wasn't really that good. Eventually, they sold the game with all the stuff, and same thing for Saints Row 4. You get the presidential edition, and it just came up with everything, right? So it's like, but still, it just feels wrong somehow.
Yeah. And wow, this is going to be this company's only game. This whatever, I know it's like the creator of Shenmue, the first two Shenmues or whatever. If he's still under that same studio, or if he started his new one, this is going to be their only game, because I think they're, at this point, they've probably developed so much ill will. Even if this game is like super financially successful somehow, because I mean, they already got everyone's money, so they can pretty much do what they want, but no one's going to trust them afterwards.
Yeah, nor should they.
Yeah.
Yeah. A follow up to something that we talked about last week was a presidential candidate and senator, president of the United States, but I know that people. This is an international broadcast. Bernie Sanders has a Twitch channel. I was going to have a Twitch channel, and has been online for a long time. And one of the things, also has a podcast called "Hear the Bern." And in episode 14, called "Game is Rise Up," I'll leave it up to you how relevant or good that title is. Talking politics with YouTube and Twitch with Jim Sterling and Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker works for Associated. He's a Twitch streamer, political Twitch streamer, also gamer, who works alongside the Young Turks, a left-leaning YouTube channel network, and Jim Sterling, Comrade Jim. I like to call him a friend of the show. One day we might have him, perhaps. Is a well-known commentator, reviewer, and of video games, with his Jim Position and Jim, and also an old podcast as well. And they basically discuss stuff that we're talking about here in the past, such as engaging with an audience, how good or bad that can be in a larger audience, and also politics in video games, and what's very interesting about this, they brought up a point that I think it's worth repeating. We might even do a show about that specifically, is that perhaps one of the reasons why people recoil at the idea of politics in video games is that they don't want to be labeled as being partisan. In other words, the politics are there. First of all, they don't want to acknowledge it. One reason is that if you acknowledge those politics, then you're automatically put in the box of saying, this is your party, this is your beliefs, this is where you stand for or stand in, right? And they recall that idea. So I thought that was very interesting. And there's other things. I put the link on the chat for everybody to see. So I think it's very interesting that that's a discussion that was being had. So
yeah, it's like the I kind of have to like shake my head at Ubisoft yet again, saying, oh, our games don't have there's nothing political about Watch Dogs 3, which takes place after Brexit and stuff. It's like, really, nothing political, huh? Nothing at all. I'm like, what? Are you afraid people aren't going to buy your games? They're going to buy it regardless of whatever political leanings you have. It's not like I don't understand that with game developers. It's not like you're a church where you have to be political so you get taxed. You don't get taxed. Granted, they don't get taxed now because they have tax havens, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. Wow. So that's a thing. And I think we can now go.
I'm going to have to give that one a hear. That's only 40 minutes long, too.
It's really short. And we now go into the main part of our program. We're going to be talking about our what we like to see in computer role-playing games. We, like I said last week, we trying to take a break from all the bad news, even though we had a couple of minor, articles that were not so great, like gaming industry, kind of situation. But aside from that, we have some good news, at least something that we like to see in the video game industry and in our video games. So we're gonna we talked in general terms last week, and we might repeat a couple of those points. but we're certainly going to move into an area I think we both of us really like. And I think it's one of the reasons why we started this podcast in the first place. We bonded over mostly BioWare RPGs and Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and so we're certainly fans of the CRPG genre. So let's start talking about. I'm gonna leave it to Chapel first and foremost for the opening. What one of the first things that you would like to see on every CRPG or your favorite CRPGs?
So I think we can agree is that it's definitely characters that we care about because or companions really. Um, and I really think about that because it's the important thing is you can have this huge sprawl setup for indoor all this in-depth lore and like this well thought up world, but you're not really going to give a damn regardless of how much you put yourself into the character if you don't have other characters that you care about, because they're the ones that actually have to live with this world and kind of have to live with the consequences of your choices.
Yeah, I mean, I always said that the point of contact, as it were, for players in a CRPG particularly is NPCs, right? If
Mm-hmm.
the NPCs are interesting, if you care about them, it's not merely. I mean, I guess I agree with you. Although I can say that I can probably play a role playing game with, I guess, nobody in it. I suppose, except for monsters.
I don't
But
know.
that doesn't really play much like a role playing because there's no.
I
I'm
was
not
I
role
was gonna
playing off anybody. So I
I was
guess I
gonna say
could
that seems more like
a Diablo style
Fallout
game.
70.
Yeah.
No, Fallout
Yeah,
76.
it's Fallout 76. Yeah, but there's a lot more issues than that, and that's one glaring issue. But yeah, I mean, you care about them, right? I mean, we tend to slag on a lot about Bioware in part because they sort of moved away from this stuff. But I think some of the best moments I experience in Bioware games is because you kind of care about the characters. I mean, to me, the absolute highlight of a Bioware game was in a game again I criticize a lot, which is Mass Effect 3. It's the death of Morden.
Mm-hmm.
It's a character you meet in Mass Effect 2. He says some creepy lines, his funny lines. He has his own personal backstory. You kind of get, at least I got angry at him because, his attitude is like, well, dude, it's logical in one sense, but still kind of immoral. But at the end of his storyline, the way I played it, and there are many ways to play it, and there's other ways to convince him not to do that or to what have you. The character makes a sacrifice, right? And it feels like, hey, I worked. So there's aspect of player agency, what I did or I didn't do as Commander Shepard, that led to that point, and then accepting the fact that this final act belonged to Morden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also caring about the Krogan in general, and Rex, and these are well written characters. Also, my lowest points with Bioware games have been when I absolutely hated characters.
Yeah.
Dragon Age 2, that certain tattooed elf that I that would go talk about, and a certain,
Magic.
certain Asari crazy girl in Andromeda, and I was like, I cannot stand her, but she's part of my crew, and I have to deal with her. Like, ugh, So yeah, characters can really they bring the story alive.
Mm-hmm.
They populate the world. They bring the story alive. Without good characters, it's kind of hard to, when you talk about lore. It's kind of understand the things if nobody embodies social values within the game, not affected by the history or shaped by the history or any of that, right? So yeah, characters are very important, and good characters, good anchors, as it were, good allies and enemies too, because a good person to hate is also good or good.
Yeah, especially you don't have to like love their outlooks or how or what they think either for it to be good. Especially if like you can get a character that you become sympathetic even if you don't completely agree. Like the one character that comes to mind is from Fallout New Vegas. I think her name's Veronica. It's the character that was played by Felicia Day.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, oh my god, she was like a Brotherhood of Steel, and she was like, oh my god, the Brotherhood of Steel is gonna die out because they're isolationists and they won't let anyone new and this, that, or the other. And it's like you feel sorry for her, but like she's so like entrenched in like the whole Brotherhood of Steel thing. It's like you kind of can't really Oh, I feel bad too, because like it doesn't seem like it matters what you really do and any of your choices. It seems like she always has a bad outcome in the
Mm-hmm.
in like your slideshow reel at the end, which I can also kind of appreciate that. Like sometimes there's no happy ending to anybody, to someone's story. Like it
Yeah.
always, it might never end great for them.
My example with Vivian from Dragon Inquisition. Like
Who?
Vivian.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
I don't agree with her position. I'm very critical about her, but she represents. Well, on this end, I find her fascinating because she represents somebody who has cozied up to power, somebody
Mm-hmm.
who was in a very vulnerable position and managed to worm themselves and use the mechanisms of that system to their advantage, and of course find themselves defending the system because their power is derived from it, right? They sort of embedded themselves in
Yeah,
the system.
and even though it's the system that's against her,
Yeah,
what she stands for, she's still pro that system.
and it's because I met a lot of people like that. I know people like that, and I don't want to go into personal politics, but that's just the way it is, right? In personal situations and national situations. But yeah, I met, and as well, it's I appreciate a well written character. I don't. It's when a character just feels like I just don't understand what this character's about, and seems to be like just there, and not even a joke character. It's just like a what's going on here. That's when it kind of irritates me, and I'm like repulsed. But a good, well written character, I don't have to like them. In fact, I can despise them and still find them interesting, right? First Mass Effect, there's a bit about Saren. Saren is a bad guy through and through. There's no redemption, really, if you think about it. But it's a sad character that and if you again depending how you play it, when you have that scene when he pulls the trigger and he gives thanks to Shepard saying thank you for letting me see the light, right? You still have to fight him anyway, or what's left of him. That was a very powerful moment. And it seems like that's something that I, you know, achieved, right?
Yeah,
Um, okay, now, guys, I talked a lot about that, so it's now, guys, my
yeah.
turn. Endings. Talk about story and endings. And I say this because there was a video that came out earlier this week by Extra Credits.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, yeah, I watched kind of it, and I disagree with most of it. I mean, I agree with the premise that yeah, many video games endings are bad, especially in role-playing games. But
Oh, we're talking about a different video
yeah, no,
from
it's a
Extra
different video. Yeah,
Credits.
not the one about the Nazis. We're not going to talk about the Nazis. That was a bit bad too in many ways. But one of the things that one of the things that my solution would be, I want, and this is a great example, is the Shadowrun games, especially Shadowrun, the Hong Kong game, and the. You don't have to have a happy ending, by the way. So this is people. Oh, you need a happy ending. That's not what I'm talking about. And the second one as well, that the ending of those games were satisfying because to me they seem to flow from the player's actions
Mm-hmm.
rather than being something that just sort of happened because the writers decided, hey, we're gonna this is how we're gonna end because reasons. And you're like, which is I think a lot of people they do talk about Fallout 3, right? The idea that you have to sort of sacrifice yourself at the end of the game when you should have this option to have these people like, hey, we can do this. We'll just go away and punch your numbers and we're done, right? You were
Yeah,
like,
we'll be
that doesn't make
fine.
any sense, right? It just you wrote it that way because that's what you wanted to, but that doesn't make sense with how I played or whatever. Good endings don't need to be twisty. They don't need to be necessarily spectacular. A great ending, something different. That's a very special thing to pull off. But a good ending is one that's like this feels like an ending to my journey, right? To the things I've done, decisions I made, if I have to make decisions or not, what have you. Whether it's very linear or not, it should feel like this, like it's a natural progression, even if it's a surprise ending, because you can surprise people who are like, I didn't expect that. But now looking at it, a good surprise ending is one that's like, oh, because this happened, and I said that, and yeah, that makes sense. Versus a surprise ending where like, and you are glowy little thing that just showed up and told me about the ending of something that I didn't need to know about it because that kind of came out of nowhere, or just so good endings, which are hard to pull off. But I don't think that they're hard to pull off if you're thinking about, hey, what are you asking your players to do and how they, how they got there, right? It's an ending of a
Yeah.
journey, right? And if it's just, if it seems like a part of the natural flow of gameplay and the story beats that you put along the way, then good, good. So yeah, endings are a thing that I think, especially CRPGs, because they're all, they rely so much on story, should have as a thing. And also think that the game will have an ending, right? Work
Yeah.
toward that, right, to a degree. So what next? What would you like to see?
Mm, I'd like to see sort of like in-depth extra content. It's not like I believe sort of how Divinity Original Sin 2 did it with like you just got like this wealth of content. You go there, talk to people, they'll say like random things. You can have like really bizarre side quests.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do it, but like it's there. It adds to the lore. It does like sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're sad,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're just sometimes they're just kind of there. I mean, they might be hit or miss, but I just like the idea that they have all these side quests. It's not just about you and your mission. There's other people in the world. They're living their lives. It sort of goes back to the NPCs, but there's other things that you can kind of end
Mm-hmm.
up meddling in.
Yeah, the world, you have your thing, and then the world has other things, and it's a story. Your story intersects with them if you go and talk to them, but if not, then you feel that it's more real because it has depth, right? There's something always
Mm-hmm.
more beyond the horizon. Yeah, I like that a lot. Talking about lore, yes, I do like my games with a lot of lore. But getting away, two things, and I think again they're not the first to do it, but they did it very well with the Codex, for example,
Mm-hmm.
with Mass Effect series, Dragon Age 2 not so much. Um, in that you find in-game ways to deliver that lore effectively in a streamlined fashion, especially in modern games, and also make it interesting. Because the thing about the Codex is that it feels like it's part of the world, right? It feels like, oh, hey, there is a database, right? Because this world has extranets, and I can search things in this database, and a lot of the entries were voiced, so you don't have to be reading a wall of text, right? It's like, oh, this person will tell me, and they don't go like 10 minutes explaining something, like very short, 2 or 3 paragraphs at most. Person tells you what's going on, you listen to it, you get a recap, and you move on. Even if you never have to know about how exactly the Mass Effect force fields work or biotics or something like that. But if you want to find out, it's like, okay, oh, there's a codex, boom. Oh, you told me about it. Okay, right. Finding new and interesting ways to deliver lore in a streamlined and effective way, and also being able to access it quickly. Because one of the things is I don't read a lot of books and stuff like that, because I got all that lore, and I do that outside of the game mostly. Like I prefer to look to a wiki or my
Mm-hmm.
own time or TV tropes page or whatever, rather than doing it in game because I'm playing the game. So if you can find cool ways of delivering all that deep lore, then I think that's a good thing.
Oh. So another thing I was thinking about is I like CRPGs with like morally gray well, morals,
Mm-hmm.
very gray morals. So nothing is strictly good, nothing strictly bad. I mean, like morality, a lot of games have trouble executing morality systems, but I like it where things you might think you're doing a good thing, and you're what you're doing in the moment is a good thing, but then it that kind of the consequences further on leads to a bad thing. It's like, oh, okay, so my actions had consequences, unintended consequences, or sometimes you might be left with like morally ambiguous choices in terms of which is good, which is bad. Like which one's the good option, which one's like the evil option. It's like no, they're like you can't really tell which one it is. It's really going to come down to what you think is best.
Yeah, I think that's one I think I have a little bit of problem because I would go at it almost on the opposite sense. I mean, not that you shouldn't have unintended consequences or moral gray areas because it shouldn't be too simplistic, But I think the problem that I had, and what we talk about, we had a whole podcast around this, was that many times video games try to use grayness as a substitute for maturity and complexity
Mm,
of a deep
yeah.
depth. Like, well, we can't really tell you that this is good or bad. You have to figure it out for yourself. And it's like, okay, this person stubbed their toe. This other person murdered an entire room full of people and
Yeah.
laughed while they were doing it. Right? It's like, what? There's no, sometimes you have to, put on your stakes, right? I think there's a difference between uh, unintended consequences, which I think it's brilliant because things happen, right? But you have to be careful you don't abuse it because then it feels like anything that you do you failed, right? It's like, well, why am I playing this game if all I do is just mess up and I can't know about I can't prevent it, so I'm just it can be taken too far. But yeah, having unintended consequences and dealing with those unintended consequences, I think, is pretty cool. But I would put a flag on that and said, don't use moral greatness as a substitute for
Yeah.
taking some at least basic moral stance, right? Um, because sometimes it just comes off as like, well, just where you're invading the White House in your opening sequence, but we don't talk about politics. We're not making any political statements or moral statements or who's a hero, who's not. I'm like,
Yeah, and I would have to
okay.
agree with you. I think the issue with moral grain is not a lot of people know how to do it right.
Hmm.
Like it's got to hit that sweet spot. It's like, oh, like I don't know, like who would you save? Like make it. It's not like make it to where it's like not like, oh no, who are you gonna? There's two people falling off a cliff. Who are you gonna save? This prisoner guy who murdered a bunch of people, or like this mother of three
Hmm.
who is a baker and she only runs the only bakery in the town. Oh no, who are you gonna save?
Yeah.
Those are non-choices. Like unless you want to be the dick, like
Yeah.
like make him kind of like I don't know who are you gonna save? Like this mother of three who's a baker, or like this uh this doctor who has no family, but he's the town doctor. like
Yeah, or sometimes the thing is that the game gives you in-game mechanical rewards like XP or
yeah.
weapons, stuff like that. That are oh well, you save the criminal, but he knows he has connections, so you get a sweet gun afterwards. So hey, you're more powerful. You can kill more zombies that way or whatever. You're like, yeah, but that's not. I mean, okay, I guess I'm gonna save him if I want to, be optimal in my gaming. So of course I'm gonna save him because reasons, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
oh, I get more experience for saving people versus killing them.
mm-hmm.
So why would I go around killing people if the long term, not because I think it's morally good to not kill people, but because I get more reward for not killing people
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah.
And I think the good balance to kind of mechanics and morality um was Vampire did that pretty well. So you get a lot of experience, a giant experience boost if you learn about people and then you eat them like innocent people. You go around murdering people. I'm not sure why those people don't give you a lot of experience, but the um but as the game progressed, like enemies level their enemy levels, like they skyrocket really fast. So if you go around not killing people, you are a very low level.
Mm,
So you kind of have that consequence of like you're a good person. You haven't been killing anyone, even like really terrible people that you could probably get away with killing, but like uh yeah, you're gonna have a harder time killing enemies and they're
mm-hmm.
gonna kick your ass really easy.
Yeah. A thing I like to see because I like the visuals and I talk about Dark Souls 3, which is not it's classified sometimes as an RPG. It's not really an RPG. It's an action adventure game, right? Uh, almost fighting game, if you will. But I do like from that game the research they done, especially for the environments, because this is a Japanese company that decided to make like a Western style fantasy game, And if you look at a lot of the architecture and stuff like that, yeah, it's their own version of stuff, but they clearly went and look at Notre Dame. They look at Gothic architecture in the Middle Ages. They look at weapons. They looked at people clothing and religious practices and stuff like that. And it's awesome because it just like I say, that if you're gonna do lore, especially if you're gonna do the thing where you borrow from existing history and culture, do the research, because a lot of actual cultural and historical situations are far more fascinating, and also scientific facts and stuff like that are far more fascinating than whatever you think you can invent, right? If you put something that actually is based on something real, I think that's far more fascinating. A real historical event, for example, and you try to get the details, mostly right, that will give a sense of realism and depth, at least to me, than trying to just make up stuff willy-nilly because it looks cool. And it's like, it's going to look very cartoonish in a way that doesn't connect, at least with me, right? Because I like to be in these environments and enjoy them and look at, take some time and look at that vista and whatever. And when I find those little details, it's just amazing to me. So, yeah.
So what else do we prefer? We're like, we're kind of pushing it at a time, but and I kind of feel like
crafting. I want to say this about crafting. I want to say this. I probably is going to be the last thing because we're pushing it a couple of minutes. Okay, crafting. I love crafting in role playing games, in many other games. But if you're gonna have crafting, make it make the things that you craft be good enough to be worth spending the time to craft them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's like, oh yeah, I can craft all this stuff, but you go to the store and you buy, you I don't know, get 50,000 gold pieces, you get the best sword ever, or you kill this monster, or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but I spent like 10 hours getting flowers and rare metals and stuff like that so I can craft this thing, and it's kind of useless compared to that thing. So, so I love crafting because I love personalizing my equipment. I love the idea of building stuff and discovering through that. But if you're going to have a crafting system, make the things that you craft meaningful and cool. You can have stuff off the stores too as well, right? But, either that or do the old BioWare thing where if you're going to have like treasure just fine, do the thing where you put like very cool designations on it and descriptions. Because it's a bow, it's a gun. It's like, yeah, but this gun feels like it belongs. It has lore and a personality, and it's like, oh, this is part of the thing. Yeah, it's a piece of equipment that goes shoot somebody in the face or whatever, but it's cool not simply because of the bonuses, but because what it means within the context of the universe. And that is something I think Bethesda did very well in Fallout 3, for example, and even in Fallout 4. Right, both they had cool crafting stuff, but the stuff that you find out there as well, especially in Fallout 3, especially the unique items. Even though necessarily they were the most powerful, was like something like Lincoln's repeater, which was cool because it's like, oh, there's a bunch of slavers, so I'm gonna kill slavers with Lincoln's gun. That's pretty awesome, right? And so,
oh yeah, I one of my biggest things was enjoying like going around trying to get all like the unique items and stuff, figuring out how to get them. Just because they're like unique items, and like even if I wasn't gonna use them, like, oh hey, it's neat just to find them that they exist.
Yeah. And that's what because I'm thinking about something else, but that goes more into quote unquote open world games, which have a lot of crossover RPGs as well. So we might talk about that next week, unless we find out this big piece of news that we talk about. So before we go, Chapamon, where can we find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on YouTube under Chapamon. I am Chapamon pretty much everywhere else, though on Twitch and Twitter, I am Chapamon_Aragon.
And of course, you can find me here on the Lesson Learned channel. I am playing Dark Souls 3 in the mornings at 8 o'clock, and probably it's going to be in the evenings after 8 o'clock. I'm going to check on the change of that because it's just too dang hot in here. And both my hardware and myself have to, survive the afternoon. So thank you everybody for coming. And as always, we'll see you when we see you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.